Not stamped for leadership is Bobby, but he too is exposed to the family's zeal for public affairs, the incessant mealtime talk on the nation and the world. And when his father becomes ambassador to Great Britain, Bobby goes along.
This is my first trip to Europe, and I was very excited. I couldn't even sleep last night.
A celebrated family. In England, the young Kennedys witnessed the convulsions of history. An old world falling to pieces and sliding into war. A war that soon sweeps up the older boys. Joe, in the Air Force, dies over Europe, shattering the first family hope, breaking the top link from the Kennedy chain.
So I think that that's why my next brother, John Kennedy, finally ran for Congress. I don't think that he probably would have run if my brother Joe had lived.
In the shift that follows, John Kennedy is first now, and Robert Kennedy becomes an unexpected second. The partnership in the playing fields grows into a partnership in statecraft. Never in American history have two brothers exercised such power. Never has an Attorney General held such responsibility. As Minister of National Justice and Chief Presidential Advisor, Robert Kennedy is closest counselor in desperate moments when the nation faces a choice of life or death. As in 1962, when Soviet Russia installs nuclear missiles in Cuba. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara recalls.
You must recognize the position the government was in at the time. It was surprised and shocked by the Soviet action. And that surprise and shock could have led to inaction. It didn't. One of the reasons it didn't was Robert Kennedy's personal efforts in organizing an effective response to the Soviet action. It was he who, more than anybody else, brought together state, defense, the staff of the White House, CIA, the UN mission, organized them to work together to very quickly bring to his brother the alternatives that were open to him as president. He had a shrewd sense of diplomacy, something that I really didn't realize or understand until I saw it come out at that time. You may recall there's been reported in the press since the event that toward the end of the second week on Friday, we received a cable from Khrushchev, followed by another cable on Saturday. Before we could answer the Friday cable, the Saturday cable was in hand, and these cables were quite contradictory. Normally one would answer the second, the latest cable. Instead, it was Bobby who suggested that we answer the first, because the first was much more favorable to our cause. And he not only suggested it, but he actually drafted the answer and suggested in the answer the position that the U.S. presented to the Soviets, and the Soviets finally accepted.
Through crises, the brothers are welded into ever closer union. Their relationship now fused in absolute confidence and candor. It is a day like any other day. Political tour like any other political tour. The Kennedys pause for a motorcade and speech in Dallas, Texas. It is November 22nd, 1963. Chain. For Robert Kennedy, life loses direction and purpose. Grief becomes the only reality. As if in a nightmare of incredulity and anguish, Robert Kennedy moves down the corridors of sorrow. Alone and alien in a world that was once his. In the obliteration of one life, the other, so profoundly linked, is robbed of its own identity. Just a month after Dallas, Robert Kennedy keeps a promise, gives his annual Christmas party for the young of the Justice Department, and so begins his return to the cycle of life.
As on top bells ring, the key spirits rise. Oh, what fun it is to ride an oasis till tonight. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride horse open sleigh.
But in the lingering solitude of suffering, he wonders if he can find his own path, create his own purpose. As if in answer, the Democratic Convention of 1964 rises in an overpowering voice of affection.
And now, it is my privilege and honor to introduce the man who stood closer to him in times of crisis and in times of fun than anyone else, his brother, Robert Kennedy.
For 16 minutes, they honor a memory of the past and transfer a hope to the future. Out of suffering, Robert Kennedy emerges his own man, committed to his own destiny.
Mr. Chairman. How about, and what about, the question was, how about President Johnson and me? What about it? What are you trying to start a fight or something? Look, I said that in the past that I thought it was possible to have a coalition government in Saigon, but that doesn't mean it's possible here in the United States.
The antagonism is no secret. Its roots tracing back to 1960, when Lyndon Johnson is designated as candidate for vice president. Still the Attorney General, but now in Lyndon Johnson's cabinet, Robert Kennedy is a somber presence in a gaudy world. Animosity is inevitable as he haunts the new administration, a specter from the past. Cherishing that past, many Democrats hope that their 1964 convention will nominate Robert